Good morning, aloha, and welcome. Prior to the start of the legislature, the Senate minority pledged to regularly report to the people of Hawaii the progress of issues, the status of the legislature, and any unintended consequences of the 2011 state legislature. We're also using new informational websites and social media and the first live streaming from key committees to get the message out, disseminate more information that's not always covered by the mainstream media. Today is the 8th day of the 60-day session. We're slated to adjourn on May 5th, and a total of 3,224 bills have been introduced, 1,559 in the Senate, 1,665 in the House. The minority has introduced a 10-package bill list, and the Senate, amazingly, has already passed two bills. One was the Civil Unions Bill, which was fast-tracked. The second was the rules for the appointed school board as voted upon as a constitutional amendment last year by the public in November. Traditionally, it's interesting, we pass our own internal budget bill first, and that internal budget this year will be in excess of $35 million, but that has not come up as yet. The largest single issue, though, of course, this session is going to be the $10 billion plus operating budget. And the administration is delinquent in submitting its budget. It has said that, well, we have new people and new administration and a lot of problems in doing it, but every other new administration has had the same problems, the same new people, and they've managed to get their budget to the House on time. The earlier testimonies by department officials said that they were not going to have the budget until mid-March, which would have put the legislature in a quandary because we'd been in session until September, if that were the case. Due to a lot of pleading and cajoling, it looks like now the new interim budget director, Mr. Calvert Young, is planning on releasing individual agency budgets. I don't know how that's going to work, but they hope to have all of the budget by next month or later this month rather than mid-March. It's still going to be very difficult, but that's the thing that we have to work on. You are aware that last Friday, Moody's Investment Services, which is the premier investment service in the United States and ranks Hawaii's credit rating and also bond indebtedness, ranked Hawaii among the worst of the states in the nation in terms of total indebtedness and pension underfunding. The legislature doesn't seem to be too concerned about this, nor does the administration, and yet this is extremely important as we go forward and we look at budget requests, because without any of the additional monies or cutting back seriously on budgets, there's no way that we can continue to fund this and not go further south. Some of you did attend the briefing by the Employees Retirement System. We're underfunded by nearly $8 billion now. There are going to have to be changes made in terms of current employees. The minority suggestion has always been that you take the most generous benefits in the nation and change them for new incoming beneficiaries in the past. The governor also, during his campaign, promised no new tax increases, but he's already broken that pledge. He submitted proposals for several tax increases during his State of the State. He talked about increasing the tax on pensions, alcohol, soda, timeshares, and doing away with some tax deductions right now. I can tell you that even my Democrat colleagues are getting a lot of communication from retirees who are opposed to the taxing of pensions. The governor was very generous. He said that he wouldn't ask for anything that he wouldn't do himself. However, he neglected to mention he gets 3 pensions, one from the city and county of Honolulu, one from the state of Hawaii, and one from the federal government. Most of us only have 1 pension, if that. And so this is an issue that has come up before. The minority opposes it. I think that we will be able to defeat this measure with adequate community support. The governor also pledged during his campaign to have a transparent administration and during the State of the State to tell the truth. The first test came with the release of the nominees for the position of State Supreme Court. The Judicial Selection Commission gives the governor a list of nominees. Linda Lingle made all of those nominees available to the public and asked for input. The governor did not. He sent down one name, and that was the name of Justice McKenna. His office refuses to reveal the other nominees. I think that not only is a broken campaign pledge, but also is a disservice to the public. Speaking of Justice McKenna, some of you may have heard my floor remarks on Friday during the debate on the Civil Unions Bill. First and foremost, I do support Judge McKenna. I've known her for quite some time. I think she is an experienced, very good judge. She will be the only or the first judge in the state Supreme Court with any family court experience, and she's got a wide range of experience. However, as I said on the Senate floor Friday, for the Judiciary Chairman to bring her name and her title and position into a debate on civil unions, I think was totally inappropriate. And had she actively participated in that, it would have been a violation of the Hawaii judicial canons. I think that she felt pressure, which was again inappropriate, from the Judiciary Chairman, who's going to be holding hearings on her nomination, to make any statements whatsoever about anything other than the law. We will see how that goes, but again, I reiterate my strong support of Ms. McKenna as a justice. The issue of abandoning the opening prayer in the Senate has been one that has generated a great deal of emails and phone calls. About 99% of them are opposed to what the Senate did. I served as one of the 3 members on the Senate Invocation Committee during the interim, and it was never our intent to ban prayer. It was our intent to offer guidelines, and then all of a sudden, after that committee met, after there was an agreement, the majority of 24 senators took it upon themselves, behind closed doors, to decide that they would change the Senate rules by omitting former Senate Rule 8 about opening prayer. The prayers had always been voluntary. There were several of my colleagues that never attended the opening, which was their privilege. Many times the prayers were not even prayers, they were messages, they were poems, they were statements, but it was something good to start the session with, and it's something that I personally missed. I try to mention a mini prayer every day in my closing remarks for adjournment, and several of us have met members of the majority, about 7 or 8 members of the majority, and myself in prayers, either on the Senate floor or in the Senate Majority Caucus room. They are not, however, a formal part of the Senate order of the day, and that was something that I had agreed to. It does not have to be part of the order of the day, but it is traditional. And I took personal and particular umbrage at the fact that one individual and one organization, the ACLU, could make the city and county of Honolulu, the city council, back down, and make the Senate back down. My understanding is they're still having the invocation in the State House. We have a full slate of nomination hearings starting this morning for the governor's cabinet nominee. The judicial nominees hearing is going to be Friday, I understand, from the judicial chairman. And we're going to look quite closely at some of these nominees. We are getting a lot of public input, most of it positive, some of it negative, and we'll try to give a full and open hearing, and hopefully those hearings, at least key hearings, will be broadcast live. The Department of Health has resurfaced again. I think this is a particularly dysfunctional agency, and in the last month it has distinguished itself again as a problem within this state administration. It doesn't seem to matter whether it's a Republican administration or Democrat. This Department of Health has done things that really are disingenuous to our legislative process. First of all, it could not find or locate the permit involving the medical waste at the landfill. Secondly, it got embroiled again in the so-called birther or birth certificate argument. Now we have some members of the House saying, well, you can't see the birth certificate, but if you pay us $100, we'll give you a facsimile of a birth certificate. In addition to that, they shot from the hip on the labeling issue, harming a lot of small businesses needlessly in this community, particularly small businesses, regarding where certain products were made, and talking about one kitchen where a number of these products in fact had not been made for a number of years. Certainly they have the responsibility of health and safety, but from my vantage point they have not done a very positive job, and I think we're going to have to look more closely not only at their budget and their personnel, but their leadership. As you know, Mr. Palafax, who originally was nominated to be the director, withdrew. I met with Mr. Palafax prior to his hearing and prior to his withdrawing. I found him to be an honest and forthright man. It's interesting that an original media report said that he withdrew. Later on, we found out that the governor asked him very pointedly to withdraw, and now I understand there may be legal action attached to that. A couple of other bills that I want to mention besides the 10 on the minority list, starting out with what I consider to be the most important, a fiscal impact bill, which I've introduced for many years now. More than 40 states have such a bill. What it really does is put a memo on each appropriations bill, and that memo will have to declare clearly what the total cost of that program or that activity is going to be over the years. Oftentimes, as you know, there is a lowball appropriation to get something started, a program or a department or an activity, and that grows exponentially into hundreds of millions of dollars later on. I think that the legislature and certainly the public need to know what the total cost of that bill is going to be. Two other bills that might be of interest to you that I've introduced. One is the Journalism Shield Bill, because the 3-year sunset provision takes effect this year. That is the bill that protects online journalists, gives them the same protections of sources and information as regular media. I want to see that sunset ended. Second also has to do with online journalism, and that would be to break the monopoly hold that is given to one, generally newspaper of general circulation, for the printing of state legal notices. Legal notices is a very lucrative business. I think it should be opened up, and I think it should be available to competing news sources, including online sources. You all are aware of the ruling yesterday in Florida by the judge that ruled that the key element of the Obamacare bill is unconstitutional. That comes on the heels of a ruling 2 months ago in Virginia, where another judge found that same provision also unconstitutional. While we are rushing to adopt provisions of Obamacare, and while we're concerned about unfunded mandates, this is something that we should be very concerned and very alert about. Obviously, the rulings are appealed and are going to go to the United States Supreme Court. I can't see any way that the Supreme Court is going to uphold forcing individuals to buy a product and to twist the Commerce Clause in the Constitution. Finally, the bill that we have gotten the most communication on in the last 4 days is a bill that my staff is right on top of. It's Senate Bill 13, introduced by Senator Donovan Dela Cruz, and it has to do with feral cats. And I thought that we had a lot of dog owners that were very passionate, but we have cat owners as well. What this bill would do is basically ban the trapping and caring for feral cats, make it illegal, have penalties and all of that. And we have, how many communications have we received now, approximately? Thousands of communications on the feral cat bill. So opening prayer has been very big, civil unions have been very big, but the feral cats are now in first place. And again, it cements my position that the big square building is really one big cat house.